Today is not a typical day, as I have a performance review. It's not my first performance review, but for some reason I'm a bit nervous about it. Anyway, I start my day as usual, checking Slack and email, responding to messages, and based on those messages I create a to-do list for the day, so I don't forget any stuff. Seriously, if I don't write it down, I'll forget it in 5 minutes. After reviewing my tasks in Jira, I started working on another DevOps task. I need to write a configuration for creating a serverless infrastructure for a Django application. This project has been running for a while, and essentially I just need to move it to a Lambda. But I decided to expand the configuration and add code that will create the infrastructure from scratch with a working database and Redis. I consider this configuration more useful because it can be easily reused in other projects. I haven't left my workspace for about 2 hours, so it's time to do it right now and make myself lunch as well. As usual, I go to eat at my table and watch YouTube. I'm into music, so I'm subscribed to quite a few thematic channels. One of my favorite YouTubers is Rick Beato, a well-known producer, musician and educator. In this video, just like many others today, Rick talks about how artificial intelligence is about to take over humanity. But seriously, in the video Rick discusses songs and even albums that were written by artificial intelligence, with the generated voices of famous people like Drake, Paul McCartney and Kurt Cobain. I was impressed with the AI Drake and AI Paul McCartney songs, but Kurt Cobain's voice turned out to be quite cringy. Honestly, there is something soulless about it, but I guess there is nothing we can do with that. Well, it's time for my performance review. The performance review process at my company is quite simple. Every 6 months, I meet with the HR and the tech lead. In these meetings, we set my goals for the next 6 months and check whether the current goals have been met and if they are still relevant. I have very kind and pleasant colleagues, so about half of the time of the entire meeting we talk about off-topic things like my own app that I work on in my spare time, hobbies or simply the weather. As for the performance review itself, we realized that some of the goals set in the past are not relevant at the moment because their application in our projects is not necessary right now, so we moved them to the backlog. But instead, we added new tasks related to DevOps. After a relatively quick and always interesting performance review, I continued working on the serverless config. In the middle of the process, I encountered some issues due to outdated libraries. I decided to update them, and it took no less than an hour, because once you start updating a project's dependencies, it's hard to stop. It's already evening, and I finished my work for today. Testing the config would have to wait until tomorrow. Feeling the need to take a break from work and programming, I turned to other activities to unwind. Because I took very few breaks today, I started to feel pain in my neck. So I decided to skip running and chose yoga instead. It was a relatively light session focused on relaxation and stretching the neck muscles, without many dynamic movements. For me, even 15 minutes of yoga is a great way to recharge. Feeling refreshed a bit, I picked up my guitar. As I mentioned before, I'm into music, and I even have my own band and a nerdy music channel on YouTube where I post my guitar ideas and guides. Today I worked on a part of one of my songs. To be honest, I was a bit tired, so it took a while to concentrate and come up with the quality guitar part, but I managed to create at least something. I would be happy to hear your thoughts on this piece. Typically, my evenings consist of studying or working on personal projects, but today I felt more worn out and tired than usual. Giving myself permission to relax, I turned on my favorite TV show and watched it until late at night. While I often try to make the most of my free time, I remind myself that there is nothing wrong with taking a break, watching Netflix, and even falling asleep on the floor while enjoying a favorite show.